Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven. Apologies for running a little bit late starting time. Had a few minor hiccups at the end, trying to get everything set up. But we're ready to go. Tonight's topic is Superhero Night. And we're going to review 3 DVDs. We're going to review JLA Adventures Trapped in Time, Challenge of the Super Friends Attack of Legion of Doom, and Superheroes: A Never-Ending Battle, which was a PBS documentary series. So we're going to start with the Justice League Trapped in Time, Justice League Adventures Trapped in Time DVD in 2014. Directed by Giancarlo Volpe, written by Michael Ryan, screenplay based on the Justice League series by Gardner Fox, produced by Giancarlo Volpe. Starring the voice talents of Diedrich Bader, Laura Bailey, Dante Basco, Corey Burton, Gray Delisle Griffin, Peter Jessup, Fred Tatasciore, Jack DeSiena, Travis Willingham, Jason Spizak, Liam O'Brien, Avery Waddell, Michael Donovan, and Kevin Michael Richardson. Production companies are Warner Brothers Animation, DC Entertainment, and DR Movie for their animation services. Pardon me. Distributed by Warner Home Video. It was released originally on January 21st, 2014. It has a running time of 52 minutes. Seemed a little bit longer than that, but that's what they say the running time is. What it's about. In the present day, Lex Luthor and his Legion of Doom try to use cryogenic freeze rays from orbital satellites controlled by Captain Cold to expand the Earth's polar ice caps in the Arctic Ocean, which supposedly will cause a massive drop in sea levels and create new islands for them to rule. Superman and the Justice League confront the Legion, dividing their forces to fight the Legion and to destroy the satellites. In the ensuing space battle, Robin purposely crashes Batman's Batwing jet into the satellite array. Refusing to accept defeat, however, Captain Cold overloads the remaining satellite, which fires all of its cryogenic energies down upon the Earth and entombs Luthor in a sheet of ice shortly before the satellite explodes. The League is triumphant, and everybody believes that Luthor is to be dead. Cut to the future of our 31st century, a millennia from now. It's a utopian society, and wannabe Legion of Superhero members Dawn, Star, and Karate Kid are visiting the Legion Museum, where they see that Luthor was excavated from his ice prison in the 29th century and is on display encased in ice like a museum relic. Because, hey, why would we release and rehabilitate the criminal mastermind when we're a millennium ahead of him, and we have a telepath among the Legion and Saturn Girl who could, in theory, retrain his brain so he's not a bad guy? I digress. Karate Kid is an impulsive, whiny snot, which to my mind seems completely out of character for him, and he pretends to punch the ice but pulls back about an inch from contacting. But of course, the superkinetic force from the air around his punch still causes the ice to break, which frees Lex. And there's all kinds of bullshit going on there. What's keeping the ice from melting and keeping it afloat in the museum? That would be a force field, right? So wouldn't the field have absorbed everything that he punched, and that so he would have never broke the ice? But, again, I digress. This is what has to happen to move the plot along. So we're moving the plot along. Anyway, Lex is free. He roams the museum trying to figure out where he is. And the best part about this, all that ice broke and made a crashing sound on the floor, but didn't alert our intrepid teen heroes or security or anybody else. So Lex is just walking around free. Of course, he explores the museum, discovers Superman's secret identity, and he locates an ancient item called the Eternity Glass, which is like an hourglass, which allows its user to manipulate time and space. Of course, there's also Captain Cold's ice gun, which he grabs a hold of. He freezes Dawn, Star, and Karate Kid with that, and then goes back in time to unleash the Time Trapper as his servant and allow him to travel back in time to the point where he last fought the JLA. Vengeful, Luthor plans to return to destroy Superman And the young heroes then break free and try to follow him back in time. He resumes control of the Legion, and Luther instructs Time Trapper to send his forces back in time to prevent the Kent family from adopting Kal-El in Smallville. The young heroes go to enlist the Justice League's aid to stop them, and they travel to the Hall of Justice in Washington, D.C. After a misunderstanding, because of course there will be a misunderstanding, they explain their story and verify their validity through Wonder Woman's lasso of truth. So the Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg travel to the past to try to prevent Bizarro, Toyman, Cheetah, and Solomon Grundy from stealing the baby Kal-El and sending him back into space, so there's no Superman. Meanwhile, Superman and the rest of the Justice League will try to stall Luthor's Legion in the present. Well, despite their efforts, the bad guys get Kal-El away and send his ship back away from Earth. This means there's no Superman, which creates a paradox in time. And supposedly without Superman to inspire individual heroism, there's no Justice League, and Time Trapper is able to erase the entire Justice League from existence. Unwilling to risk being erased from existence themselves, Dawnstar and Karate retreat. In the absence of the Justice League, the Legion pillages the world, robbing banks and depositories and leaving Washington, D.C. in ruins. The young heroes realize that they can induce their own time paradox by ensuring Lex Luthor's past counterpart never travels to the 31st century, so he can't steal the Eternity Glass and return to the past. So the young heroes travel to the Arctic using Dawnstar's tracking ability, and they find him. Meanwhile, Gorilla Grodd, Captain Cold, and another villain are also looking for Luthor, and they battle each other, and eventually they free Luthor. Anyway, now they figured that by freeing Luthor now, he won't get first, then the Time Trapper will be stuck in the bottle and everything will be fine. But that's not how it works. The Time Trapper is immune to paradoxes because he exists outside the timeline, and thus with Luthor's counterpart freed, Time Trapper is now at liberty to do what he pleases because Luthor is no longer his master. So the Time Trapper banishes the future Luthor from existence and then tries to remake the current world in his image. However, doing this, because he erased the future Luthor, for some reason brings the Superman and the Justice League back into existence because of he erased the future Luthor's wish, I guess, confronting Time Trapper as a result. But the Time Trapper is too powerful for the League to fight. Karate Kid figures out through his powers of figuring out a person's weaknesses. Time Trapper is composed entirely of dark matter. He realizes that only Dawnstar's light-based powers can defeat him. So Dawnstar has to charge the Time Trapper with her light energy and overwhelm him, and the League defeat him and revert the Eternity Glass, which imprisons Time Trapper once more inside the mystical hourglass. And things revert back to normal, so to speak. The Justice League thanks the young heroes and offers them the opportunity to stay as members of the Justice League. But they decline, saying that they have to return to their own time because otherwise it's a paradox, and that's not going to be of any good to anyone. And they use the Eternity Glass to return to the 31st century. But when they arrive, the Superman statue that was in the Museum of the Legion is now a Luthor statue. And without reading any information to see what's going on, maybe they turned in and leave, nothing, they just assume that everything's gone bad, something's gone wrong. And so they, have to go back. But in the meantime, Superman recovers Luthor and sends him back to Blackgate Prison, and Gorilla Grodd assumes the control of the Legion of Doom in our current time. Like I said, they return to their own time. They think they've altered history wrong. They go back to the 21st century to try and figure out things, and that's how they end it. What I think of this, it's basically an extended remake of the old Super Friends episode, Secret Origins of the Super Friends, from October 1978, where the Legion of Doom learns, and I say that loosely, of the identities of and origins of Superman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern, and the Legion of Doom go back in time and prevent those characters from existing. Now, it's cute that they use the Legion of Superheroes and the Time Trapper to try to make it more realistic than the 1978 story and be more inclusive of things that are in existence in the DC universe. And they're pretty true to the characters of the Legion of Superheroes, 31st century, sort of, but it also falls flat in many ways. The comedic attempt of the storyline of the attack of the Legion trying to get baby Kal-El, with the JLA trying to protect baby Kal-El, was kind of bad. It was very silly. And I absolutely hate Karate Kid's costume design. He looks like a 2000s version of pop culture throwback to the 1970s Super Friends Samurai, despite the fact that they are in no way, shape, or form related as characters. I feel like not only is this confusing, but sort of insulting to Karate Kid. I mean, how hard is it to properly design the character based on his own look? Here I am, now, great grandnephew. Remember what I taught you. What's that, old man? I don't know anything of what you can do. If I had the Legion, and if I had that kind of powers, Legion would have accepted me right away. I just got your loser fashion line, that's all. That's about what I think of that whole setup. Because really, if they had just, made him an ancestor of samurai even, which they didn't, and given him some of the powers, he would have been a much more interesting character than he was in either the comic or the this movie. It's an okay movie, though. It could have been so much better, though, if they hadn't been specifically trying to emulate this plot from an old Super Friends show and done something more unique with the Time Trapper. I don't know why nobody ever seems to make him create a time paradox loop where no matter what the trapped individuals do, they end up right back where they started from, no matter what they try to do. And, that seems to be, I'm trying to figure out if there's something that prevents this. Because to me, it's like that's almost the trap that the Time Trapper himself is chained to within the Mystic Hourglass. It's in and of itself a time paradox loop, hence why he himself is out of time and no other time paradoxes affect him. Now, I admit I don't know enough about the Legion history to be aware of all the different nuances. Maybe there's something else, but it just seems to me that if you wanted to remove people from the timeline and do so that they can't affect you, that would be the way to go about it, not just changing one little thing and then trying ripple effects. It's just my thought there. Dawnstar's costume is okay. It's a stylized version of her more modern look. I didn't like the wings being dark gray or the funky metal contraptions on them. It makes her look off-model to me. I don't know what purpose or function they serve. And her photokinetic abilities were a new power added to her lineup of powers and abilities from the comics, which if you're going to do that and you're going to make Karate Kid look like Samurai, at least give some of Samurai's other abilities to him. At least give him a chi energy sword or something. It just seemed like they were being kept a little bit of haphazard with the designs and intents of the powers of the characters in this film to just fit whatever context and intent they wanted to fit the plot of the story. It is recommended for ages 12 and up. I give it 3 out of 5 stars, but it could have been a lot better. Speaking of the original Super Friends, our next video is Challenge of the Super Friends Attacking the Legion of Doom DVD from 2003, created by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera, with E. Nelson Bridwell, Carmine Infantino, and Julia Schwartz as creative consultants. The writer for the entire series was Jeffrey Scott, apparently. Again, this is based off of the concept of the Justice League of America by Gardner Fox. And the episodes were directed by Ray Patterson and Carlo Urbano. starring the voice talents of Jack Angel, Marlene Aragon, Michael Bell, Bill Calloway, Ted Cassidy, Denny Dark, Shannon Farnan, Ruth Foreman, Buster Jones, Stanley Jones, Casey Kasem, Don Messick, Vic Perrin, Stanley Ross, Dick Ryall, Michael Rye, Olan Soule, Jimmy Wellman, Frank Welker, Louise Williams, and William Woodson. The executive producers were Hanna and Barbera. Producer was Don Jerwich. The production companies were Hanna-Barbera Productions and DC Comics with distributor Warner Brothers Television Distribution. Running time about 2 hours. What I thought this was about was the whole entire 16-episode run Challenge of the Super Friends from 1978. Unfortunately, instead, it's only a collection of 4 random episodes from that year run. Those episodes are Wanted, the Super Friends. In this episode, Lex Luthor forms a criminal gang called the Legion of Doom and uses a dream machine to make the Super Friends commit crimes. When the Super Friends realize what they've done, they turn themselves into police headquarters because that's what superheroes do when they commit crimes. They say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Here's your stuff back. Let me go to jail now." And when they go to jail, the guards turn out to be Cheetah and Bizarro in disguise, and they send the Super Friends in their trapped jail cell rocket barreling towards the sun. The Legion of Doom then uses the satellite, Justice League satellite, with Luthor's mutation device. I don't think it was Luthor. I think it was Brainiac, but it doesn't matter. There's a mutation device that turn all the women on Earth into Cheetah clones and all the men into Bizarro clones, long enough for them to commit profitable robberies and turn everything over to the Legion. The Super Friends escape their death trap, which doesn't make any sense, and I'll get into that in a minute. They return to Earth and reverse the damage done and retake the Hall of Justice from the Legion of Superheroes and reverse all people back to normal. They then disguise themselves as Bizarro and Cheetah clones to try to stop the Legion of Doom as well. Now, the reason this doesn't make any sense is because, they're in this kind of frozen, suspended animation type thing in the cage. But once they're out in outer space, there's no air for them to breathe. So, and I don't care how fast the rockets are sending them to the sun, it's going to take a long time to get to the sun. So they're going to die of exposure to the vastness of space before they ever reach the sun, in my opinion. But, whatever. It is what it is. And there were other things that they could do. But, this is stuff that's meant for little kids, not for adults to think. So you just kind of have to bear and grin it. The next episode is called Invasion of the Fairians, where Captain Cole recruits the Fairians, who are inhabitants of the planet Venus, to help the Legion of Doom take over the world and destroy the Super Friends. The Fairians say that the Legion has to make the environment suitable for Fairian life forms first, so first Captain Cole freezes the world. Then the Flash defrosts it. This is where they kind of got the whole freeze the world type stuff from the time trap adventure that we just talked about. But as the Flash defrosts it by running around with his high-speed friction, it creates great quantity of steam, which makes the temperature in the atmosphere higher and hotter. Black Manta then sets fire to an island in the Pacific Ocean, and when Aquaman uses a great tidal wave to quell the flames, it floods inland, making it more suitable again for more plant life and other problems. Finally, Sinestro sends 6 comets, not 1, but 6 comets, towards the Earth, and Green Lantern has to move the Earth out of its usual orbit to save it, which raises the temperature even higher, which, all of this sort of stuff, again, it's pseudo-scientifically plausible, but when you start thinking about the real science behind it, none of it makes sense. But anyway, the Fairians now can enter Earth and make it into Venus too, which is kind of stupid because if Venus is uninhabitable for humans, why would you want them to invade the Earth and give you control of the Earth? Yeah, Legion of Doom. Because now the Earth is unsuitable for any life. It's kind of dumb. Um, but anyway, the Fairians attack the Hall of Justice, entrapping the Justice League in an impervious force field. Green Lantern then figures out a way to turn them all invisible, and they voice program their computer in the Hall of Justice to put out a message to claim that they have escaped the force field. The Fairian comes back to the Hall to find an empty force field bubble and turns it off, which frees the invisible Justice League, and then they turn themselves visible and counterattack and capture the Fairian and send him back to Venus, and then they go about reverting the damage and making everything back to normal. I don't know, just it is what it is. The next episode was the world's deadliest game. Brainiac uses a cloaking device to make the Earth appear to vanish. When Wonder Woman, Hawkman, and Black Vulcan, who are out in space helping NASA with a satellite or something like that around the dark side of the moon, they come over the moon, they don't see the Earth there, trying to figure out. The Toy Man sends a phony distress message that leads them to his sinister black hole planet of toy traps. The Riddler then uses his super riddles to lead the other Super Friends on a wild goose chase that sends them off on their doom. However, the efforts of Superman and Green Lantern combined allow them to go through the black hole and rescue Hawkman, Black Vulcan, and Wonder Woman and get back out of the black hole before it implodes. Next episode is the Time Trap. Gorilla Grodd invents an interspatial time conveyor machine that allows anyone to travel through the time portal. Black Manta and Giganta trap Aquaman and Apache Chief in 70 million BC and rob the diamond mines of South Africa. Sinestro and Captain Cold trap Green Lantern and Samurai in 500 AD, and where they rob King Arthur's treasure. Grodd and Solomon Grundy trap Batman and Robin in ancient Rome as they rob the treasures of Julius Caesar. Aquaman and Apache Chief figure out the exact future location of the Hall of Justice, where Aquaman buries his communicator, which has a power source with a multi-million-year lifetime of use. Meanwhile, in the present, the Super Friends detect the communicator, deduce where and where it comes from, which allows Superman eventually to rescue all of his comrades out of the past. And then they come back and beat up the Legion of Doom. Of course. What do I think of this? Well, scientifically speaking, all the plans are kind of smart and dumb at the same time. But many times the villain should win the fights, should win these capers, because they do outwit the Super Friends, and it's usually some contrivance that allows them to free themselves. That doesn't always add up and make sense. As a kid, when I watched these, because you know good always triumphs over evil, you knew there would always be some way for the heroes to prevail. But as an adult, sometimes it gets on my nerves to watch what they do and how they come up with these hokey explanations as to how the Super Friends escape their death traps and turn the tables on the Legion every episode. This, coupled with the fact that it's only 4 of the 16 episodes that I thought I was getting when I borrowed the DVD, I have to admit it disappointed me quite a bit. That being said, Challenge of the Super Friends with the Legion of Doom, I think, is pretty much everyone's favorite version of Super Friends, and yet historically, surprisingly, only lasted for 1 season. If I ever do get the version that has all 16 episodes, which does exist, it came out as Challenge of the Super Friends, the first season, back on July 6, 2004, then I will I'll do my best to get the whole thing and watch the whole season and return to this subject. It is recommended for ages 10 and up. Based on what I got in this set, though, only going to give it 2.5. It would probably get a 3.5 for all of them. I don't know. I have to wait until I see them. There is some extra goodies, though, in the extras on the DVD that I thought was pretty cool about this DVD. And that was they did go through all 13 members of the Legion of Doom and where they first appeared in comics. So if you were a collector, you could actually find out what issues they made their first appearances in and stuff like that, which was kind of an interesting thing because, not everybody really pays attention to that. But if you got a younger kid that was interested in this sort of thing from that, and they say, oh, well, I want the first appearance of Lex Luthor, or I want the first appearance of Gorilla Grodd or Cheetah or whatever, if they could get them, it'll be a good way to get them started on collecting valuable comics anyway. All right, our last video is Superheroes Never-Ending Battle from 2013. This was a documentary on PBS, produced by Michael Cantor, Sally Rosenthal, and Joe Skinner, directed by Michael Cantor, written by Michael Cantor, Lawrence Maslon, and J. David Spurlock, starring Liev Schreiber as the host. It featured Stan Lee, Mark Waid, Danny Fingeroth, Neil Adams, Bradford Wright, Adam West, Ed Cato, Phil Jimenez, Jeanette Kahn, Jim Steranko, Arlen Schumer, Carmine Infantino, Michael Chabon, Len Wein, Jules Pfeiffer, Joe Quesada, Ramona Fredone, Jerry Conway, Denny O'Neil, William H. Foster III, Grant Morrison, Linda Carter, Trina Robbins, Adrian Lennox, Mark Damon Johnson, Vincent Zerzullo, and more. This continues. Quite a people on this show. Gary Phillips, Gerard Jones, Jeff Loeb, J. Michael Straczynski, Jeff Johns, Jerry Robinson, Walter Simonson, and Louise. Louise is listed down further, but Walter and Louise both. Ashley Miller, Paul Dini, Erwin Hansen, Zack Snyder, Chris Claremont, Larry Hama, Mark Evanier, Christina Strain, Jim Lee, Mike Malve, Todd McFarlane. There's Louise again, but you know what I was getting at. Andrea Romana, Marv Wolfman, Corey Stoll, Edward Herman, Tim Daly, Lee Aaron Rosen, John Hamilton, Jürgen Yoon, and Joe Simon. Production companies Ghostlight Films, Oregon Public Broadcasting, and the National Endowment for the Humanities, who funded it. Distributor PBS Distribution, both in terms of television and video distribution. It was released originally on PBS on October 8th, 2013, and ran for 3 episodes. The video itself is a running time of 3 hours, plus additional edited cutouts of some of the interviews of some of the people that they had on the show. What it's about. Liev Schreiber hosts this 3-episode, 1 hour per episode historical overview of the American comics industry. The first episode, Truth, Justice, and the American Way, explores the beginnings of the industry, talking about the American Depression of the 1930s, and how we went from comic strips to comic books, and how it leads into World War II, and then that era of the books. And then we go into the early 1950s to the mid-1950s, and Frederick Wardham's infamous book, Seduction of the Innocent, and the formation of the Comics Code Authority, and how that changes the direction of comics. In the second episode, Great Power, Great Responsibility, it explores the reconstruction of the superhero genre in the 1960s during the wake of American societies of peoples with civil rights and the international conflicts that our country was involved with at the time, with the 50s and with Korea, and then later in the 60s with Vietnam. The elevation of criminal activity in our real world society as well. Not just that, but counterculture, drug culture, all that stuff started getting explored. And so they talk about how that goes in from the 60s to about the late 1980s. They also talk about, whoops, there's something missing here. The third episode, what happened here? I don't know. That's kind of weird. Whoops. Let me see if I can find what happened here. Yeah, it don't have the third one there for some reason. Okay. Anyway, let me cut up here. The third episode is anyone can be a hero. And that brings us to the late 80s, early 90s, the formation of Image Comics and the revolution of creators versus the industry, so to speak, and how that supposedly revolutionized comics as well. Which, I'll get into that in a little bit here. But that's pretty much what the third episode is. For some reason, like I said, there's a thing missing here. What I thought. I enjoyed the first episode very well. Thought it was well done. Second episode, it's okay. It was, I didn't mind it. It wasn't. First episode was great. Second episode was good, but not great. Third episode, burn it. There's just so much stuff that is just a false misrepresentation, in my opinion, in that third episode. The third episode wants you to believe that the revolution of not just the creators getting creative rights, but also it's only been in the last 15 or 20 years, maybe the last 30 years, in the early 90s, that superheroes have really been part of the mainstream. And that's just a lie, because when you stop and think about it, and it even tells you and contradicts earlier episodes, Superman would have stopped existing as a comic if it hadn't become a mass media success with the radio show and the TV show and all the licensing that made that character palatable. So really, we've had it in the mainstream since the 50s in that regard. Adam West's Batman in the 60s, which then transformed the entire DC lineup into the cartoons of the late 60s and early 70s from Filmation. Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. And, of course, Marvel had Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno's Hulk in the 1970s and Nicholas Hammond's Spider-Man in the 70s, leading into the 1980s. Then our animation scene exploded in the 80s and 90s. So don't give me this crap that it's only been since the Marvel Cinematic Universe or Zack Snyder that our genre has been internationally renowned and accepted as a mass media market, because that's not true. I also get sick and tired of hearing about how Image Comics revolutionized the industry. They did no such thing. They ruined this industry in a lot of ways. And I could go into that, but I'll do it some other time. But the whole third episode, burn it, as far as I'm concerned. Nobody ever wants to talk about the indie superheroes of the 1980s and how they revolutionized the genre. Guys like Mike Barron should have been on the show talking about Badger and Nexus. Bill Willingham should have been on the show talking about Elementals. Of course, Eastman and Laird should have been on the show talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I could go on and on and on about different stuff. The real revolution was the 80s, not the 90s. And I'm tired of hearing Image get all the credit for what came before them. But for a generalized documentary series overall, the video is okay. It's not great, but it's okay. I also won't lie. Seeing all the people on the video who are no longer with us, whether that's Stan Lee, Len Wein, Denny O'Neil, Carmine Infantino, there were several people on there that are no longer with us who have died since this video was made. Watching that was a little bit sad too. It made the video seem a little bit older than it actually is for me. It felt like they need to redo it. So it was a little bit hard to watch in that respect for me. because some of those people I did know personally and had met and had even if they were long distance or fair weather friend type relationships, where I didn't see them all that often, they were still people I knew and still people that it was sad to see them leave when they did. So, like I said, it made the video seem a lot older. It made me feel a little bit older than I wanted to feel. But anyway, the overall video is recommended for ages 13 up. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. Like I said, it's pretty average for this sort of thing. Could have been a lot better. Wish it had been. But if it had just been the first episode, great. But that second needed a little more tweaking and getting into the 80s independence. And then there should have been an 80s independence episode and then get into the image stuff, I think. But, that's just my opinion. So, anyway, that is pretty much what we have for today. It's been kind of a weird weekend for me. I know I was supposed to do some live draws, and things didn't go right this weekend at all. But that being said, tomorrow we will be on air, hopefully early afternoon, to do some live draw. And I guess I'm going to try and get my reviews done for tomorrow. Didn't get my comics again on Friday or Saturday. I was supposed to get. I'll end up getting those backing boards because even though Diamond shipped the books, my store hasn't had time to inventory everything and get everything in stock. So I'll get what I've got, and I'll review it, and I'll do a review episode tomorrow and a live draw tomorrow. So until then, I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, or you think others might, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue to get content from my channel. As always, I thank you for watching and for your support. If you want to reach out to me on social media, I'm at Facebook, Lewis.BrightRaven, at Twitter, at LewisBrightRave2. You can see some of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright exclusively on YouTube. If you have questions, comments, requests for artwork, suggestions for topics for future episodes, Quoth the Raven LBR72@gmail.com is the address to reach me at. If I'll get back to you in a day or two, try LewisBrightRaven@yahoo.com. That's all for now, folks. We'll see you next time. Have a good evening.